Hello, everyone. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us from. Thank you for tuning in. Again, welcome to the All Mercy Psychiatric Care podcast where we talk about everything, anything, and yes, everything affects our mental health. Everything affects our mental health. Here we talk about compassion, meeting conversation. I'm your host, Mercy Ngeusang, and today we are diving deep into a topic that touches the lives of others in a very powerful and unseen ways. Probably by the end of this podcast, you understand why I say unseen ways. Redefining social work, whether you're in the field, whether you know someone in the field, or you're just curious about what takes up the show about social work. Every single day, social workers are on their feet doing things that are unseen, but yet portrays outside. Let us talk about that a little bit. And today we have no other than my little sister here, and I'm gonna get her introduce herself. Welcome, baby girl. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Mercy. I am good. I'm actually honored to be here this morning. The work that you've done has been so amazing. Just watching you be a pioneer in the psych world is truly honorable, and I look up to you a lot. That's something that I wanted to let you know today because you've done amazing work.
Oh, thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome.
you've seen the work that I'm doing or done, and we are still doing, and you will agree that our work cannot be completely done without social work.
That is true. That is true. Because we are kind of like the hands and the feet, right? We're just out there in the field
Yes.
doing the actual work. Yes, yes.
Please introduce yourself. I'm sure others are like, okay, who is this? Please introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Anadja Tamofo and I am Cameroonian, originally came from Cameroon, Africa. My journey began when I actually decided that I wanted to do social work during undergrad after doing nursing for a little bit. I was like, I want to get to know people and help them on a deeper level. So I decided to switch from nursing to social work, which was, quite a pivot. And once I got into social work, I really began to understand, wow, the social work profession is more than we think it is. So
Yes.
I went to obtain my bachelor's in social work. Then I went to obtain my master's in social work with primary focus on mental health and substance misuse. So now I am working as a youth prevention specialist. So that's been fun.
A youth prevention specialist. I want to call on all the youths. This is a great leader, not just leading, but leading by example. And before I even asked her why she chose that path, I want to call on all the youths. Whatever you want to do, it is possible. Do something that you're passionate about. Do something that will leave you feeling fulfilled at the end of the day. So, what made you to choose this path?
I like to say that social work kind of chose me. I think that already innately, I've always been an empathetic person. I've always led with, you know, doing good and just showing kindness to whoever I can. But I didn't know that there was a profession for it until, I did my research, and I also met some social workers, which kind of inspired me to get into the field and learn about the field. But not only that, but challenge the status quo of social work, because a lot of people have preconceived notion about what social work is. When you tell somebody, "Oh, I do social work," it's like, "Wow, you're going to be poor the rest of your life." But we don't really talk about the other aspects that are very fulfilling. The work that we do and the impact that we make on a daily, that is more than monetary value. Oftentimes, people don't understand that. But I was inspired to not only choose social work because of the impact that I get to make in people's lives, but also because I get to do meaningful work. I get to educate myself on different topics. I get to advocate for other people, those that can't advocate for themselves sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
get to educate some people on things that I'm educated on, because a lot of times it's about what you know, and some people don't know certain things. So they're not able to make the choices, the healthy choices that they need to make to live fulfilling lives. So ultimately, I also like the aspect of empowering people. Uh,
Absolutely.
Empowering them to know that, hey, there is other alternatives for you, there's hope for you. So ultimately that's kind of what led me to that path. And not only that, but when I got into the field to learn about other aspects of social work, I was definitely mind blown. I was like, wow, there's so many things you can do. So that's kind of what inspired me to pursue this path of social work.
And you said people will be like, oh, you're going to be poor for the rest of your life. I think they should say something else. I've sent you the link, by the way, if you want to share with your friends to watch. I
Hmm.
sent it to you. Yeah,
Okay.
I sent it to you already. But again, I, people who do not know about this, I think if they knew what you do, they will say you're going to be rich the rest of your life.
Mm.
That's how I see it. Because people do not understand when you hear the words redefining social work, what comes to mind? I'm sure people have different things that comes to mind when they hear that. When I hear redefining social work, it goes beyond the traditional image of a case manager who is doing advocacy, empowering, healing, and just creating change. To me, it's about also recognizing social workers as mental health professionals, policy changes, frontline voices for those who are unheard. And we have many, many people that is only through social workers that we can hear their voices. So, what does that mean to you, Anand? When you hear redefining social work, what comes to your mind?
I think you touched on it pretty well. Meeting people where they're at. I think that oftentimes when people come to social workers, they are in a vulnerable state. They are, looking for solutions. They are looking for someone to give them that sense of hope, right? That sense of autonomy, as to you still have the chance to turn things around. Here are the resources that you need. Here are what's available for you in order to make the change that you want to make in your life.
Mhm.
But redefining social work to me also means involving the community when
Oh,
it comes to creating change. I, from the work that I've done in the communities, they know what's best for them. People in general oftentimes know what's best for them, right?
mhm.
But we have to ask the questions, the uncomfortable questions. We also have to meet them where they're at and show up and say, hey, in this moment, how can I help you? What is it that you need at this exact time? But it will start with the communities, because you can help an individual, you can assist them in getting whatever they need to,
Mhm.
you know, fix whatever it is that's going on in their lives, or to improve what's going on in their lives. But if they go back to a community, or they go back to an environment that's not healthy for them,
For them,
they're most likely going to have to come back.
yeah.
So how do we focus on community-led initiatives? How do we focus on the collective as a whole? What's missing,
Mhm.
and how can we meet those needs, so that if we do help those individuals, because there's different sides of social work, which you mentioned,
Yeah.
policies, case management, face-to-face, that micro, meso, and macro aspect, right? But if you help them on the micro side and then they go back to their environment, then if their environment is not healthy, that will affect them.
That was
So that's when I hear redefining social work is looking at the community,
mhm.
whatever community you're a part of, identify the need and try and meet that need. I think if each one of us did that, there could be a greater impact and greater change.
Absolutely. And you mentioned something, they know what they want. Sometimes we cannot assume that we know what they really want. We cannot say because they are homeless, they want shelter. We cannot say because they are hungry, they want food. They know what they want and they know how to prioritize their needs. Let us reach out to them and say, how can I help you? Or I have XYZ. What is it that you need? How can we be of service? Including them in the community, including them in the decision making, including those unheard voices in what you do makes a huge impact. You're not just showing up, but you're showing up for them and with them. And that makes a difference.
Exactly. I liked how you mentioned that, showing up with them too, because it's also empowering to know that you have someone alongside of you that is willing to assist you in that process. Speaking up, advocating for yourself is not always easy, right? It's like, how do you do that? Especially if you, like, for a lot of people that are minorities or that are going through a lot of challenges, they don't know how to speak up for themselves because all what they've known is this is just the norm, this is the reality, things might not change. So helping them to just look at things from a different perspective and encouraging them to keep going and being consistent in wanting to change.
Yes, being consistent. I want to ask you this. What is a common, I think you've said one already, you're going to be poor. What is a common misconception people have about what you do? You've said one already. You're going to be poor the rest of your life. That is a huge, huge, huge misconception. Please erase that from your mind. If you're one of
No,
those,
seriously.
if you're one of those who used to think like that, please take that out of your mind. But for me, when I hear being in that field for so long, oh, they are just helpers, or we only need to connect to people. They just help us connect to that people, and that's it. You can just say, oh, this person needs this, and that's it. In reality, I don't think that's what social work is. I want you to answer that. What are the common misconceptions that people have about what you do?
I think people don't understand that when it comes to the field of social work, it's not like your regular job of like a 9 to 5 and that's it.
No,
You don't clock out.
no,
You don't clock out.
no.
It's a state of living
Mhm,
at this point. If you're a social worker, it's ultimately just your being. You don't clock out. You're constantly trying to identify how can I meet people where they're at, not only that, but how could I also show up for them sometimes when
mhm,
it's not conventional or it's not convenient. A lot of time people don't understand that social work is not only not being able to clock out after not from a 9 to 5, but having to do the hard work, have those hard conversations.
I woke up one morning several years ago when I was still in another role, and I had received an email from the social worker about 2 a.m. When I looked at the time that I received that email, it was 2 a.m. talking about they found placement for a kid. And I'm looking, I'm like, what is she doing up at that time? It's 2 a.m.
Exactly.
You're there finding a home for someone. And it just blew my mind like, do they walk around the clock? Like you said, there's no clock out time.
Exactly, because there's no not knowing when a crisis is going to happen, right? You don't plan on crisis from happening, a crisis situation from happening. That's not things that you plan for, but like I said, we meet them where they're at. So sometimes it's at 2 a.m. and sometimes it's on a weekend, on vacation, it's very different. But one of the other main misconceptions that people have about social work in reality is that we are not being impactful, or we just provide resources and we're just handing out food, making sure that people are fed, beating basically just meeting basic needs, when in fact it's more than that.
Hmm.
It is more than that. Social work is so broad. You have social workers in hospitals, schools.
Everywhere.
Yeah, you have social workers now in athletics.
Yeah,
Like you have
everywhere.
social
I want to
workers.
say that social workers are trained clinicians, and you mentioned crisis. Social workers are not
Exactly.
just trained, they are crisis responders, they are therapists, they advocate and navigate into the deeply layered
Exactly.
human challenges. They bring
Exactly.
out those challenges that some people will be you can pass the same road and don't see something. A social worker
Exactly.
will pass that same road that same time and will tell you, hey, this is what is happening here, let's respond to this crisis, let's go
Exactly.
into the roots of what is happening so we can hear the voices of these people. So social works are not just helpers.
Exactly. And the roles of social workers just look differently depending on where the setting that they're at,
Mhm.
depending on their roles. But that's one of the most common misconceptions about the field of social work. So there's some social workers that do preventative work, which is something that I just got into the field of. Um, Basically just trying to prevent the crisis from happening.
Yeah,
So that is educating on various topics. So, for example, substance use.
yeah,
The work that I do is educating the youth on different substances and how, if you do make the choice of using a substance, these are the consequences, right? And with that, the main focus is to prevent a crisis from happening, to prevent use. So there's different aspects of social work that a lot of people are not aware of. And I think that's the most common misconception. It's just trying to get people to learn more and educating people about the different aspects
mhm,
of social work as well. Is something that I've been very adamant about doing as I'm learning myself, because I'm
right.
still learning how broad it is.
I don't think we ever stop learning. I want to acknowledge our viewers. Emily Golden, welcome. If you have any questions, ask. We can answer if time permits as we go on. And I want to ask you also, what's been your most meaningful experience in this field?
My most meaningful experience has been to show up for people that can't show up for themselves and continue to assist them, continue to educate myself and educating them on the things that they might not know. I think that if people knew better, a lot of times they would do better, but they don't know better, for different various reasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I've enjoyed learning different things, different skills that has helped me in my community in wanting to address certain challenges that I see in my community as well. So that has been one of the most meaningful experiences, meeting other social workers, getting to learn what they do and applying a lot of the things that I'm learning within my own scope of work and scope of practice.
Oh wow, that's great. I I have seen many social workers create. When I say create, I mean really create and build another kind of life for some people. I have seen children who went from home and housing instability to go through higher education and become something bigger than what they ever dreamt of because of the help of social workers who say, what do you need? What do you want? I can help you with this. I can get the resources for you. I can place you here where you can have stability. And if it is not stable, let me know. Even in hospitals where we work, these children always have their social workers' numbers in hand. And they said the social worker said, you can call me at any time. Who does that? Who does that? The children may not remember their parents' numbers or anyone else's, but they remember their social workers' numbers because they have developed that rapport, that trust,
Mm.
and they know that there's someone who believes in them and there's someone that they can call at any time. That was just life changing to me. Children who used to be in the street. did not think of tomorrow with any light, did not even believe that it can be something. But the social, I have, oh my God, there's one that I remember when I got report from that one. The social worker had to sleep in the office with that child because where the child was, they were facing immediate danger, immediate crisis, and they could not stay there for not even one more night. The social worker had to take that child, and they could not find placement at all that day. They have beds in the offices, food, refrigerators. Social worker had to sleep in their office that night with that child until placement was found. And I'm like, what? What kind of human beings are these? And people don't even really know what they do. When you say there's no clock out time, I believe that, which is why I'm asking you this question. How do you handle the emotional burnout? Because it's not just the physical up and down. How do you manage the emotional burnout?
I think that's something that even as a new professional, I am trying to figure out. And I've asked, the more seasoned social workers, how do you do it? And all they tell me is just you got to find your balance and you have to find what works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but having a plan, a self-care plan is something that prevents burnout, right? Establishing how do you pour into your cup? Because you can't pour out from an empty cup.
No.
It's you have to find ways to fill your cup. And it might look differently for me than it looks for another social worker, right? What are the things that are important to you and make sure that you continuously do that as well where alongside what you're doing as a profession.
Mm-hmm.
Prioritize your needs as well. It's important to prioritize your needs. Be aware of your needs because sometimes we can just be go, 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 go that we forget our own needs and what we need in a moment. Um, but I often try my best to stay grounded through
Yeah.
different mindfulness practices. I don't do it when I'm very, very stressed. I try and do it prior, having actually building that into my daily routine has been very instrumental. Meditation, whether it's listening to music, hanging out with family, friends, different things like that to prevent that emotional burnout. And I would say I'm very thankful I haven't experienced, emotional burnout to the point where it has hindered my practice or
Mm-hmm.
what I do. But I'm still working on those preventative measures for sure.
And you have to be intentional about that. And you talked of
Oh yeah,
consistency earlier. You have to be consistent. You have to be
yeah.
intentional about that because the way I see what we do, we don't just go with the flow. We intentionally prioritize our own needs, especially our own self care. It includes therapy, mindfulness, like you say, setting boundaries, eating healthy. It goes way about that, even more than that, because we have to reconnect with our why. Why are we doing this? What is the purpose behind this? Because sometimes you may easily get frustrated and get lost and be like, you know what? But if you reconnect with your why are you doing this, remember, is that purpose serving you? And that is what matters. Consistent self care. You're not burnt out now, thank God. You have not been burnt out yet, thank God. That you can help prevent that. There will be good and bad days, but you can intentionally nurture yourself, water your seeds, water your why. Because when the wind comes, when the bad days comes, when it's extra hot out there, you still need that seed, you still need that why to grow. And that comes only with preparation, knowing
Hmm.
that this is my plan. This is how I rejuvenate myself. This is how I distress.
Hmm.
This is how I reconnect with myself. This is how I ground myself. So you don't wait for the rain to come before you get your umbrella. You get your umbrella in case it rains, you have it. So I hope the purpose and the passion for you doesn't lead you to burnout because you'll be well prepared to handle that. But is there really, like, what does the true support for social workers look like? You being in this for a while now, what does true support look like for social workers?
I think is really just educating people, our families, everyone about the work that we do and how it can be burdensome at times,
Mhm.
emotionally, right? Because when people don't understand, like, hey, I can't really talk today, or like after a shift, I have to take time for myself. If I don't answer for some time, don't think that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I have to recharge, you know?
Yes.
Sometimes we're so focused on our job that we sometimes tend to not prioritize our family, but it's not that we don't care. We do care. It's just we need to recharge because you're always pouring your energy and trying to make sure everybody's okay. But
Mhm.
taking the time for yourself is also important, right? So I think true support for social workers just on the family aspect, community relation aspect is letting them know, letting people know, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what my day to day looks like, helping them understand it as well, because some of them might not understand, right?
Yes.
And also for a society as a whole, is just finding ways to acknowledge the work that we do. I realize that we have a nurse week, but we don't even have a social workers week. Like, how is that? I also want some,
Are you
free
sure?
Chick-fil-A or something, or, you know, no, but it's not about the food really. It's
No,
just
it's not.
about the
It's just the
acknowledgement.
recognition. The recognition, the
Recognition.
acknowledgement, like
Yeah.
you say. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, wow, we're valued. Who doesn't like to be valued, especially when you are out there risking your life a lot of times too. Some of the work that we have to do is very risky,
You
right?
go
It's
to
just
homes that are not safe, and you don't know if you'll
exactly,
be able to get out of that home. You go to rescue somebody from somewhere, and then you become the target. So, yes, it can be
exactly.
risky. And for me, when I was thinking about this question, I also think that true support can be fair compensation. It can
I was
be
gonna get there.
manageable. It can be manageable caseloads,
Yes.
because I don't know how a social worker, like in a typical facility, I want social workers to have a manageable caseload. That way they can treat people as individuals and not just generalizing through caseload. Let a caseload be fair. There's no way you can handle how many caseloads in a certain time period. And I also want social workers to have access to mental health. Sometimes they just need to talk because they need that space where they can honestly just talk without being judged. I want that support for social workers. And yes, I want the recognition, I want the acknowledgement. Social Workers Week. So something like that. Yes, they
Exactly.
need to be celebrated because they are the pioneers, the foundations of how we even know what the patients need. Not just patients, what the community, what the individual needs. Before we
Mhm.
see them, a social worker has already seen them. Most of
Exactly.
yeah, most of
Yeah.
the time.
Most of the times, with social work, a lot of social workers work for nonprofits. And what do we know about nonprofits is it's not for profit. Ultimately, a lot of the funding that you get is from the government. And with that comes a lot of metrics that you have to meet, right? But then if compensation is not where it needs to be, but we have to meet all of these metrics, these numbers,
Mhm.
then that's when it gets burdensome. Then that's when it starts to become a bigger load than you anticipated, right? So now it's also important to continue to acknowledge the aspect of social workers. We have a lot going on 24/7. We're not getting paid correctly.
Mhm.
However, we're still showing up and trying to do our best. Do I think that the caseloads will ever reduce when it comes to social work? I don't I don't know, but I'm crossing my fingers. But you mentioned something also, it start with supporting the workers, supporting the social workers, right? Whichever agency that is, finding different ways to support them regardless of their compensation too. I think
Mhm.
also the leaders, right? Finding ways to recognize your workers, finding ways to recognize. recognize your case managers, your therapists, and so forth, if you have the ability to as a director or as a boss.
Mm-hmm.
um, and also advocating for them, advocating for social worker. That's the ultimate support.
Yeah. Thanks for viewers. Leonard is online with us. Vera and so Emily. Thank you all. If you have questions, we will answer them as we go ahead. This can be a personal question
Okay.
because there is no way we do what we do, connecting with people, working with people, transformation, seeing all that in people's life, and we do not get transformed ourselves. So if you don't mind me asking, how has this work shaped your own perspective of the world?
I think that my work has given me hope too, hope of a better tomorrow for generations to come. Because of the pioneers in social work, things have gotten better, right? It's like we can only hope for things to get better. But to be able to see it
Mm-hmm.
is definitely been an eye opener for me to keep going, even when things seem tough,
Mm-hmm.
to keep trying, even when it seems that there's no possibilities to provide the help that I see the community needs or my community needs. So it has given me hope. I think the word for me has been hope lately.
Mm. For me, I've worked with, I'm thinking of two particular social workers right now. I worked with them when they were just fresh into it,
Mm.
and I've seen their growth over time, like 4 years into it, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I saw the most compassionate human beings ever. It's true that you have to be compassionate before you ever get into it, but I saw that journey. It turned them into some other, the best human beings that you can find. They became more aware of the social and the systemic injustice, not just aware of it, but are taking actions that these things be addressed. And they always see the bigger picture in everything. When they see a child, when they see a person, they are not just seeing an isolated person. They are seeing that person as a representation of something bigger, of a bigger context, of a bigger history. There's something behind this lineage. And also, they're not just trying to see where you're broken, but they're trying to see what are that potentials that you have. Social workers, I have seen them become something else, especially if you are fortunate to be close to one of them. You can evolve with them. It's a total transformating journey for both of them and the people and the community that they serve. And I am just so proud that I work hand in hand with you guys.
Mm. Same.
My job will not be as excellent and as it is without your help. No way. No
Same.
way. Sometimes even when the children are guarded or the patients are guarded, we cannot take anything from them. Who do we call? The social worker. When they see you, they feel comforted, they feel trustworthy, they open up because the first rapport that they had was with you. And they know that you are acting for their own good. You are advocating for them. You are empowering them. And they have that nest of safety around you. So let me start by thanking you for all you guys do. It is not just shaping them, it is not just shaping you, it is shaping all of us as we go through that process. Okay, now I'm getting emotional, but
Oh.
okay. What kind of impact are you most proud of? I have said what I am most proud of. Transformation.
Yeah.
Transformation. What are you most proud of?
I think that I think that's also something you mentioned in the work that I've done, in the conversations that I've had. I think one of the most impact that I'm proud of is watching people realize the power that they have. That to see them from a place of despair to a place of wow, okay, I can actually make different choices.
Mm-hmm.
I have it in me to create the life that I want
Mm-hmm.
and the life that I choose to have. And that has been one of the biggest things that I've seen through the many initiatives that I'm a part of, and which we're going to touch on. But in creating a nonprofit myself, I've seen people grow, I've witnessed it firsthand, and being able to not only recognize that in them, but also creating an environment where they can thrive
Oh,
and they can be
very important.
themselves, beautifully themselves, despite our various backgrounds and upbringing,
Mm-hmm.
is something I'm very proud of.
Creating a space where they can thrive. Creating a space where they can thrive, where they feel seen, where they feel valued, where they feel heard. It may not make the headlines, but it changed their lives. Because many of the work you do is like, it's like a behind the scene work. It's like other people take credits for what you do. So it may not make the headlines, but it changed their lives. And that is why I am like, okay, these are the invisible things that you guys do. And they also come with invisible struggles. What are some of those struggles that people overlook in this profession?
I mentioned some of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hours that we have to put in.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that people don't understand with social work too is we manage so many different parts, right? Not only are we managing the admin part, we have to be in the field and we have to have the conversations and then we have to connect to the resources. We have to keep up to date with the resources and we have to make sure we're educating ourselves and then educating others. The world is ever changing and ever evolving, and we have to always stay in the know and always stay in the now too,
Mm-hmm.
and anticipate change too. Because we can't just be stuck in the present, but we also have to anticipate, okay, what is the climate and how can we meet our clients' need with the changing climates and what's to come as well. So we're always having to pivot and be flexible
Mm-hmm.
in order to best do our work and just
Mm-hmm.
be able to make everything accessible for our clients and their needs. So it's always ever changing. And that's something that people don't see we have to go through because we're always showing up and doing what we need to do. But the back end is that continuous training, having to put in those hours, having to, if you don't know something, educate yourself on it. Sometimes things come up that we don't know, and it's like, we don't know, let us find out so we can help this client.
Mm-hmm.
So those are kind of the struggles that we definitely deal with, and some people overlook that. And also we need help too.
Yeah.
We need help too. We're just human. We're human just like our clients. Sometimes we fail to meet our own needs and we need somebody to remind us of, hey, this is who you are, to empower us as well and remind us of who we are and to give us hope as well. So it's an ever ending, it's a purposeful
You
field, but
know,
also we want to be
it's
reminded
making
of
me
it.
think. It's a purposeful field. It's making me think, Anadja. You're young, you're thriving, you're doing all this. When you start having that family, that environment that you have to be there for them as well. I'm thinking, how are you going to balance everything that?
I often have these conversations with the seasoned social workers who are doing all of the things, and I'm like, "How are you doing it? How are
Mm-hmm.
you doing it?" Somehow they're
When you
like,
have to go
"You
home to
just
your own child, when you have to go home
you
to your
have to do it."
own,
Yeah. And then a lot of them have businesses on the side. Not only that, they are also doing different things, mentoring and everything. And they're finding, I'm like, how? But I think that when it's something that you're very passionate about,
hmm
you find ways to make it work in
if
healthy
if
ways.
you have the power to change one thing in the system, what would that be?
Work life balance. I'm just kidding. That's not a thing. That's really not a thing.
Mm-mm.
um,
If I had the power to change anything in that system, I will I will say mental health access. We still have insurances today that do not cover mental health. Why not? Why not? I think everyone deserves equitable, timely, and culturally competent care. Everyone, nobody left behind. If I could change that, if I had that superpower to change that, that is what I would change.
I totally agree with you. Oftentimes, whenever we see a social worker burn out, is because they were so focused on helping other people that they kind of forgot about themselves, right? When
Mm-hmm.
I talked about support, needing someone to remind you, like, hey, you need help too. Hey, you need your needs met as well. It comes with also having a therapist,
Mm-hmm.
but then not everybody has access to that.
No.
So when we talk about the pay when it comes to social work, you have to oftentimes try and, make ends meet and so forth. But then sometimes prioritizing your mental health is the least of your worry when you're trying to survive.
Mm-hmm.
But why is it that there's no access to free therapy
Mm-hmm.
for social workers, right? Why is that we don't actually have resources for ourselves when it comes to mental health? Why isn't it something that's more talked about within the field, promoted within the field? So we can talk about it all the time, but why is it that no one is actually doing it and
Doing
following
it.
through? Yes.
We study the same line doing it. Why is it that
Yeah,
we are just talking? And that's why I like the mental health theme for this year in for mental health awareness month. I like the theme for this year, making turning awareness into action.
exactly.
Why do we know and we are not doing better? Why do we know better and we are not doing better? And with all this that you go through, how do you how do you maintain those boundaries, even with the system, even with us, the mental health providers, even especially with the community that you serve? You're still compassionate. How do you maintain the boundaries and stay compassionate?
It's a really hard, especially when I talked earlier about, grants and having to fulfill these metrics and having to meet numbers. Oftentimes, you're trying to meet those metrics because you want more funding in order to help people, right? Is that continuous cycle. But if you're not careful, you're caught up in wanting to meet those metrics and wanting to meet those numbers, and you forget about yourself, and you can forget about your well-being as well,
Mm-hmm.
and which can be very tough when you have your needs and then you're like, oh, I'm really trying to make this change and I know it's helping people.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't keep going, and if I don't actually meet these deadlines and things that I have to do, then things are not going to be funded anymore, and then what's going to happen, right? So then you also have those different stressors. But I would definitely say actually putting it into action. That's something that I am being aware of myself, being new to the field, right? As I'm learning, how can I be an advocate for that through for mental health through my own actions? How can I,
Mm,
put in time? How can I
yeah,
advocate, okay, this is the time that I need off in order to make sure that I'm okay and so forth.
through your own actions. I like that because most of the time, yes, what we do, we it requires us to be present, but it doesn't require us to sacrifice ourselves.
Oh.
It doesn't require us because I give from a place of fullness, not from a place of
Mm,
depletion.
exactly.
If I can maintain that boundary, say, okay, done for today means done for today. Let me fill my cup so that I can be able to pour from that. So let me give you from the place that I am full and rich and ready to go. Let me not give you from a broken, tired, exhausted place. Let me not give you from a place of depletion. And it is a learning process every day. Mindfulness, we ground ourselves because maintaining those boundaries, you're not punishing the person that you're not able to serve at that time. You're just rejuvenating and protecting your own self to be able to continue to serve. So we learn and unlearn every day. It is a never ending learning field. So, which is making me ask you this: what are you currently learning or unlearning about all this going on?
Speak up. Speak up about your needs. Speak up about how to keep your cup full so that, like you mentioned, you're not overflowing from an empty cup and you're not just pouring out from a depleted place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm also unlearning that it's okay if you don't know certain things. It's okay if you don't have the answers. You can always ask. You can always ask, and that's totally fine too. You're constantly going to be learning and you're constantly going to be unlearning. So be okay with that because that's time is always changing. Things are always changing. In the field, there are things that you might be passionate about one time, and then maybe there's something else that piques your interest. That's totally fine too.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning to just be very true to what got me into the field in the
Yes.
first
Your
place.
why? Mm-hmm.
My why, keep that in mind, but also be open to change. It's
Yes.
okay if your why changes.
Yes. Yes. Very true. Very true. Because getting into this, it can be emotionally burnt out so severely. What I am unlearning in this journey, I am unlearning that productivity does not define my worth.
Mm,
I don't have to finish 100 caseload a week for me to define my worth. Did I do them well? I'm learning to value rest. I'm learning to know that the journey, the healing journey, is not a checkbox. It is that quality time that you have that you give. If I can do 10 caseloads well today and give them total transformation, I feel fulfilled. I know my worth. I don't have to do 20 caseloads so bad that everything just get confused and mixed up because I cannot take you to a home that I am not sure you will be safe just because I'm trying to get you a home. Just because I'm trying to discharge you quickly from my caseload. So that form of productivity is not what defines me. Me knowing that I am there for you, we are transforming together, and I feel fulfilled in the process is what I'm learning. So I am unlearning the other one and learning the other one. What keeps you going when things get tough and what keeps when it gets rough out there, guys, it gets tough. We don't talk about it much. People don't know about it. What keeps you going in the midst of all that?
I think for me, primarily, it will have to be my faith and faith in just a better tomorrow. I don't know, I feel like our minds, the way it's been created, is to continue to hope and believe even when things are tough. You'd be surprised being around people that have gone through a lot of trauma, having those conversations and to see how they have hope and they're still standing. It's impressive. But guess what? Our mind is often always evolving and we're always learning new things and we're always rewiring our brain to resilience, basically. So
Mhm.
it's been an amazing thing to not only experience life, but also have faith that although there are challenges out there, I have faith that things will get better.
Better.
And not only that, having support from family and friends, you know, Dr. Mercy, and just those around me that keeps encouraging me and keeps pushing me to go forward, even when sometimes you don't believe in yourself and you don't see certain things in yourself until somebody says, hey, you've got what it takes, or I believe in you. I know that the work that you're doing is very important. Keep going. Just those words oftentimes are what keeps me going when things get tough. And also the time that I spend in solitude just with myself, right? Doing the work, journaling, all of that is what helps me going because
Yeah.
sometimes we get so caught up
Yeah.
to the point where we don't stop. And it's like, hey, it's important to stop and be very mindful and aware of what we're feeling
Hmm.
certain times rather than just going because of productivity, like you mentioned, Dr.
Hmm.
Mercy.
Yeah. And it's tough. And sometimes we revisit our why. In this field, what has kept me going in this field are the lives that we are changing. Sometimes I get letters from parents, sometimes I get letters from kids, sometimes like you changed my life. And sometimes it's not just about medication management. So it just fuels our day when we think that we've given hope again to somebody. Doesn't mean they will never be challenged or they will not meet any more challenges, but we have helped them build that resilience to keep moving towards the right direction for them. That just keep me going most of the time. As a social worker at Naja, what advice would you give someone new in the field? Like, don't do it, don't do it. Like,
Actually, on the contrary, I'll say just do it all. Do it all. If you think you want to go to case management, go to case management, preventative work, do it all until you find something that you like and you say, you know what, I think I can see myself doing this for a long time. I think
yeah.
I can see myself doing this, and it's fulfilling to me.
Mm-hmm.
There is no, I wouldn't say boundaries. There are boundaries, but there's social work is an ever evolving field. Like you can literally work anywhere as a social worker, right? Just find what's right for you. Don't let other people define what social work means to you
Mm-hmm.
because we all have different definitions of social work. There's the main definition, but there are different definitions of what it means to be a social worker. You can do clinical practice, or you don't have to do the clinical track. You can go and work in policies. You know, trying to work in policy,
Mm-hmm.
legislation, all of that. There are different various paths that you can take, and don't let anybody kind of fix you into a niche. It's okay to try it all. I would just say
Like
have fun with it. Take care of yourself during the process. Learn and have fun learning and enjoy what you do.
I like what you said. Don't let someone find it for you. Find your community, stay curious, protect your energy, and
Mhm.
never forget that your presence alone can be transformative into someone's life. Never forget. Protect your energy as you're finding that community. Like Anadja says, stay curious, keep learning until you know that, oh, this is me. This is me. Protect your energy while you're doing that. Don't get lost in the process. How can we all contribute, Anadja? How do we contribute? to social well-being, even outside the profession?
It starts with the conversations that we're having. It starts with being aware of our needs, not only our needs, but the needs of others. Talking about mental health, there's so many subjects that are so taboo and that are stigmatized. When if we just have conversations about it, then we can work towards solutions. So just having conversations, talking to family, friends, also showing up, volunteering, doing different work, um, finding solutions when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
If you see there's an issue, try to find a solution, educate yourself on it, and try and find a solution. Because sometimes we just wait, we wait, we wait.
And
There's no solution.
and sometimes we just wait for someone else to do it, and it's something that maybe we can do. And sometimes we are not even listening to their needs, like you said. We start judging. Can we not just judge? Can we challenge some biases and some injustice when we see them? And can we care for people in even our smaller circles? Sometimes those little things have that ripple effect, because the small wins become the bigger things that we are trying to create. What do you wish more people understood? I think we've said that a lot of time. We have made, we have talked that, but yeah, I wish many people understand that your job is not just about solving problems. It's about working side along people through their darkest moment and through their brightest moments, because it is that guidance along the way, knowing that they are never alone, never alone.
Because we don't always have the solutions. We don't, but there's so much power in just being present, like you talked
Mhm,
about,
mhm.
and just them knowing that someone's there. If they need someone to talk to, there's someone there for
Them
them.
knowing that they can reach out to you at any time.
Mm-hmm.
I asked one social worker that, is it mandatory for them not to turn their phone off at night? She said, no, we can turn it off, but we just choose not to.
Mm-hmm.
She said, because so many times they have had patients who do not know what to do and who think that even though they know the crisis hotline, the suicide crisis hotline, but they want to talk to their social worker because that is somebody that they know and trust. And that person may be the only one to take them off that spot. It is a tough job that you guys do. I I don't know how else I can acknowledge that or recognize that. But I am so proud of every aspect of what you guys do as a job. And the journey is not always easy, it comes with its own challenges. How do you define success at this stage of your journey?
Not being burned out. Not being burned out at this point is success. At this point. Success to me at this point means trying to continue and educate myself
Mm,
because I don't know everything, right? Admitting that
nobody
and
knows everything.
being open to learning about different aspects of social work. Not only that, but also getting to learn about other people, learning about them at their core, letting them tell me about themselves rather than me already assuming, right?
Hmm.
And just trying to navigate the field of social work has been one of the successful things for me, is even being a part of social work. I think such a noble profession
Such a noble profession.
has been part of the success.
And
And
I'm
I'm
thinking
just
about
excited.
teachers. When I think of social workers, I think about teachers. Yeah, such a noble profession.
Yeah. Yeah. And I look forward to how far we can go as social workers and how much change and impact we can make. Because oftentimes our impact is not loud, but it's noticeable.
It doesn't make the headlines, but it changed lives.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for me, at this point, mm, I had to think about that one. Success to me at this point is the impact over the image.
Wow.
Mhm. It's not about mercy. It's not about all mercy. It's about what all mercy has done in people's life. So if people can see the impact of other people's lives, to me, that is what has been the success. It's not about me. It's not about my practice. It's about those people that we continue to transform. And also, success means, am I practicing things that align with my values? Am I nurturing my own wellness? As I feel like growing, am I uplifting others as well?
Mm.
That is what it means to me, being in this journey. And Anaja, you're celebrating your birthday this month. Uh, I think we'll have it at a when we post it, we're gonna have it how people can give to your birthday, and you are choosing to. I want you to say it.
All right. So, in the conversation that we've had, I've been very just broad about my answers, but one of the meaningful ways that I have been trying to be a change maker. I've been trying to create an impact in my community is through a nonprofit that I co-founded called Stillness in Sila. Our main purpose is to empower young minority women to thrive in all aspects of their lives by educating them, right? Because I talked about how we don't know what we don't know. So I
Mm-hmm.
provided space through
That's
Stillness
right.
in Sila. We provide a space where we bring on people that could educate us, people that can actually give us resources as to what are some of the things that we need, what are some of the things that we need to be aware of, we need to know. So we focus on educating and the overall well-being. So for my birthday, I have decided to celebrate with purpose. I am partnering up with a local nonprofit where we will be distributing food and different items to the homeless population in Dallas. And yeah, that's where how I'm choosing to celebrate my birthday through the
And that's
nonprofit.
stillness in Silla, right?
Yes, it is stillnessinsela.org.
Mm-hmm.
Also, one of the big part of Stillness in Sela in focusing on the overall well-being, the holistic well-being of young minority women. We also do community service. We host professional events. We host different things. We create a community, a safe space where young women can thrive, and we support them through all aspects of their lives. So if you feel inclined to, visit us at stillnessinsela.org where you can
It's on
donate.
the screen. Mm-hmm.
Yes, thank you so much. And all the donations just go through supporting our initiatives and the things that we do at Stillness in Sela. So we've been going for about a year and a half now, and it's been an amazing journey. And it's been very fulfilling to see the impact that we've been able to make in our members' lives.
Thank you for joining us, Anaja. We are going to post that even when we are done with this. We're going to share that. And where can you be found if people want to follow you and see you and check out more about what you're doing? Because we are
Yes.
the younger generation, we really want people to emulate your style. We really want people to know that it is possible. It may be difficult, but difficult or hard does not equate impossible. It means that it's hard, but do it the hard way. You can do it. Look at
Exactly.
Anaja. Look at Anaja. You can be the representative of growth, of building something that people do not think that is possible, of finding your own wellness along the journey. It is possible. Where can people find you, Anaja?
You can find me at Anadja Tamofo on LinkedIn, and that's just Anadja Tamofo on LinkedIn. That is where I really just share my journey, my professional journey as to what am I doing in order to make that impact and that change. And how it looks for me might look differently from you from yours, but just start. I think a lot of times we get so caught up on how and so forth. Is it going to work? Just start and learn along the way and be open to feedback and reach out to people who are
Mm,
doing what you want to do,
mm,
right? And ask questions. It's totally okay.
great. Victor, thank you for tuning in. Emily, Stell, Leonard, hope I'm not missing. Thank you guys for watching.
Thank
And
you.
thank you, Anadja, for coming in today. This is your first time. It will not be your last time. All Mercy is going to join you on your birthday and see what they can do with stillness in cellar. Thank you. And thank you all for watching today's episode of this podcast, All Mercy Psychiatry and Integrative Care. Social work is more than a profession, it's a calling rooted compassion, courage, connection, things that people do out there. It may be unseen, it may not make the headlines, but I guarantee you they have been changing lives one after the other. If something in today's conversation spoke to you, share this episode with friends, donate to Stillness in Cellar. We are donating and we will join her to celebrate her birthday. What a selfless way to celebrate her birthday, making an impact, not receiving gift, but making an impact still in people's lives. Until next time, stay grounded, stay well, stay socially connected, and again, mental health is a journey. Let's take the wheels and ride well together. Thank you for tuning in. Bye bye for now. It doesn't want to let us go to the